Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine. Today, we are welcome with Chandler Hopkins. How we doing, man?
Doing pretty good, my guy. It's all bright and shiny down here in Texas. Very hot, but starting to cool off. How's your day?
Blessed. Excited to be here. Like I told you off camera, third interview of the day. We're rolling. We're getting these in. Uh,
Moving.
I'm excited to have you. Upon going through your work, you've been just about everywhere. You've wrestled just about everybody. I'm going to
I
start
wrestle a
this
lot of people. Not everybody yet. A lot of people. We got a
a
long
lot.
list to go, but we're gonna get there.
I'm just gonna leave this disclaimer at the front of this. If there's anybody that you've faced in this interview or in your career that I don't mention in this interview, I apologize. I did my best. You
No.
can't go over them all, but
Yeah,
you've
of
faced
course.
an encyclopedia of individuals. um,
I've been very fortunate early in my career to be able to see a lot of name talent early. Yes, yes, I did.
but before we get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast, would you like to tell these nice fans where they can find you on social medias for all the latest on what's going on with Chandler Hopkins?
So you can keep up with me on Facebook and Instagram at the Chandler Hopkins, and
Okay.
then Twitter, X, whichever one you prefer to call it, is the Young Gun underscore CH. If you have Twitch, you can follow me at Twitch as well. I do a little streaming, capped underscore pew pew underscore.
Okay. Um, Seeing how we are the I Love Wrestling podcast, I'm gonna start at natural beginnings. When did you find wrestling and maybe fall in love with it?
Um, so it was probably gonna be. I feel like most wrestlers always say this too, so it's so cliche. But whenever I was a kid, I is when I really fell in love with it. But I took a different route. Like I didn't stick with wrestling forever. I kind of ventured off and played other sports.
Mhm.
Um, Wrestling kind of came back to me whenever I was a little bit older. Whenever I thought a time in my life when sports was going to be done. So I found it whenever I was 12 years old. My stepdad worked at Cox Communications, which is a place down in or I'm sorry, North Texas, up in Amarillo, Texas. And they had a big, like 100-foot by 70-foot, like screen that they projected pay-per-views on. And my mom was very G-rated. She didn't let me like watch anything above G up until that point. And so he talked her into it. And she said yes, and we went up and we watched it. And that was the very first moment I remember of like watching wrestling up close. Not that I was there, but because it was such a big screen, it felt like I was there. So I knew that was something that I was going to enjoy. And I watched it for years to come. And I wrestled my brother in the living room and trampoline. I actually broke my brother's trampoline doing a frog splash on him. Um, that was pretty funny. But wrestling kind of came back to me later on in years because I was a football guy. I always played football. It was my main sport. Ran track, played baseball, basketball. I even played golf. I was really good at golf. Went to state finals in golf. My was it junior and senior year? Yeah. So really, sorry, I've got a lot of dogs.
It's all right.
But yeah, so I did a lot of different sports before it came back to me, and I was selling cars. And a buddy of mine had asked me if I had ever been to a WWE live event, and I was like, no, I hadn't, because I hadn't at that point in my life. And he asked if I wanted to go with him, so I went. And so we get there, and he starts telling me about all these things going on with like the story characters and stuff like that, and what's going on in their stuff. And at one point, I just remember stopping him and going, yeah, I watched as well, so I kind of know the stories because so and so is about to do this and so and so is about to do that. And he was like, "Oh," he was like, "You're one of those guys. You watch wrestling, but you just don't really like talk about it." I was like, "Yeah, no, not really," because at that time, wrestling really wasn't as big as it is now. Like, this is I've been wrestling. It'll be 9 years this September. So, and this was about probably a year and a half before I actually started wrestling. So, this has been a minute, and wrestling was kind of not really where it was at today's era. But yeah, I went with him that show, and he asked if I wanted to go to an independent show, and I didn't know about. I was like, "What's an indie show?" And he was like, "Never been to an independent wrestling show?" I was like, "I don't know what that is." And he was like, "You want to go? I'm gonna go next weekend. There's one here in town." So he took me, and it was called IWR, Imperial Wrestling Revolution, and I went to one of their shows, and in their intermission, they was talking about how they were doing tryouts for like students to start taking on in their school. So I got one of the flyers for it, and I looked at it for a couple days, and I was like, man, this could be like my last shot to really do something in the sports industry that I want to do before like having to say, it's this or back to selling cars. Which I enjoyed selling cars at moments, but there was times I was like, this is not what I want to do forever. Um, so I just ran with it, and I emailed them and sent all my stuff that they needed to see. And later, it was like 5, 10 minutes later, they were sending me an email back, and they were like, "Yeah, come on down. When can you come?" So, selling cars, I had to work that out with my manager. It was very, very hard, simply because weekends is when they were training. Like so, Fridays and Saturdays when they were training, and then in car sales or any kind of sales, the weekends is where you make your money. So the boss like says, "Nah, you can't have those days off. It's not happening." So I had to make a deal that if my numbers didn't slip, that I could do the Friday, Saturday, but I had to be there Sunday through Thursday. So for about 6 months, 7 months, I drove back and forth for about 2 hours to where they were located at in Ardmore, Oklahoma, to where I was living at, um, there in Oklahoma City. And at that moment, it was about a 2 hour drive one way. So I was driving down Fridays right after work, hit the training with them before the night session hit. Then I'd stay the night, get up, do it again the next day, and then drive back. And I did that every weekend for about 6 or 7 months. And then right after that, they were like, "All right, we're gonna put you in the ring. We're gonna have you debut." And I was like, "Oh crap, okay." So did that and just kind of had a cool little story for about a year. I did a story with the Magnificent Malico, really good wrestler down in Oklahoma. Probably one of the best charismatic, creative individuals that I've ever met. Really cool. If you haven't ever seen him, remember, come back to this. Look at your time slot. Magnificent Malico, really
Okay.
good. Um, but yeah, he and I had a really cool little story back and forth where he thought I was like his long lost child and he was going to kidnap me. And he even did some like waterboarding and he left me in a hotel bloody and told me my card was on file and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see it all work out, how it started, and to see kind of where we went. But wrestling kind of found me at its own little moment. I found it early and it came back to me. And I told myself, like, this is it, now or never. If I was going to do it, I had to put 110%. I wasn't just going to jump into it and be like, oh, I'm just going to be a wrestler. No, I have that competitive spirit, always have. I'm an athlete at heart. Sports is the name of the game, always will be for me, probably. Well, it was both feet in, full force. Let's get it done.
Okay. Something I always find really interesting, and you brought up your debut match. How were you feeling post debut match? Do you remember?
um, Post debut match, there's still a lot of adrenaline. The pain and stuff of the every match bumps hadn't set in. That usually sets in like the next day or maybe that night when you're laying down. You're like, "Ooh, hey, yeah, I hit the mat today. That feel that one." I think more so for me, the feelings were more emotional. Like, hey, that was it. Now the work begins. I think a lot of people see that first match and they go, "I did it. I'm a wrestler," and they let off the gas. For me, it was completely different. It was get through this first match and show you that you could do it. I had my dad and my brother in the crowd, and they were like, "We thought this was a joke," and then we showed up and watched you wrestle, and we were like, "Holy crap, you're actually really good!" And to have them both there to say that was really cool. Um, but yeah, it was more emotional. I think after the first one, like, all right, you got through the first one. You know you can do this. Now you just got to do it a whole bunch more times. And that was the mindset.
Upon doing research, if cage match is correct, for many years it looks like yourself and Cody Dixon were together as the Young Guns.
Hmm.
What brought you guys together and made you guys decide that you wanted to team together?
So Cody and I had a lot of things in common. We were both gym guys. We loved to be in the gym, and that was one
Okay.
thing that he was going to do every single day of his life, simply because that's who he was, and I enjoyed that. So I was like, cool, we can get down to some gym bros too, so we could talk about ideas and game plan and stuff. He was trained by myself and a couple of guys there at IWR. He got kind of a fast track kind of training as well, but he had me along the way as well, and he usually got a lot of the overflow that I got from the names I got to work because he was always with me or next to me. Because if him and I weren't tagging and we were on a show, I got him on the show to do something else, or he would reach out to the promoter. He was really good about doing that himself too, is reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm already going to be here. I usually tag with so and so. You got doing this. Do you mind if I do this?" And he, yes, yes, cool. So, um, it was just kind of a natural fit. Kind of just worked out. Um, I think the reason it didn't go further was just he had obligations to the military, and I respect him for that because he had said that was what he was going to do, and he put in a lot of time for it. And they gave him a really good not sure exactly what it was, but it was a combatant job where he was actually training people in the combatant field. So he was really good in mixed martial arts too. He'd come into the ring and he'd show you some different things, and he'd roll you up real quick and easy. Like, dude, where did you even think of to do that? So, but no, it was fun. I look back at those moments and some of the things we had to do. We got to wrestle LAX together, Santana and Ortiz for one night only in Oklahoma for TNA Impact.
Okay.
Um, that was fun. We got to wrestle the Steiner brothers together. That was a good fun one too. So I mean, we got to do some cool stuff. So yeah, uh, good memories. Good
What
old
what
Cody Dixon.
was what was wrestling the Steiners like? That's one of the many questions. But what was the Steiners like?
Wrestling the Steiners was definitely as hard hitting as you would think it would be wrestling the Steiners. They were older, of course.
Yeah.
No offense, gentlemen, but they were older, of course, so it wasn't as hard as what I'm sure they were back in their prime, right? But just to get to see how their brains work and how they, and I'm not saying this in any way, shape, form, or fashion be disrespectful, but in the way they were able to nonchalantly just be like, oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do that. Oh, we could like sometimes you look at a guy and you're like, what could we do? And you'll think for a couple minutes, or maybe you got to walk back by and think. But they have been through so much in their careers that they were just, oh, well, we could do that. We could do this. We could do this. We could do that. We could do this. They just had things just to throw at you. So it was really cool to be in that situation. Never thought that would be a possibility, but it happened. So really fun. Really fun.
It's definitely a bucket list item for sure.
I think that checks it off the bucket list for sure.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Uh, it looks like yourself and Dixon won your first tag titles at MPX, if I'm correct. How did you guys feel after getting your first set of gold?
Oh man. I think for him it was more satisfactory of like knowing that we did something together. I felt like he was very whenever he first came in, he had like very robotic moves, and he just couldn't break the robotic stiffness that he would walk in because it's very mixed martial arts. He just couldn't get to like a wrestling character. So he really had this stiff sense about his body. A lot of people gave him a lot of crap for it, but he kept working at it. He kept working at it. He kept working at it. He got so much better. So for it to be one of those things where someone thought he was good enough to have a title, even though he probably could have taken it off any of us in the locker room by himself, just saying, if he wanted a title, he could have had it. But just to see like his growth too from where his day one to then was, I think that would probably be something that would be pretty cool for him and I both to see. But just winning them in general, I think it just solidified that we were at that time could be one of the best teams here in Texas. And I think for that short period of time we were pretty smooth. We were getting into a rhythm. It just happened to be he had to say real wrestling or military, and that was the choice they gave him. So um, much love to him. Kudos. Hope he's well. Haven't seen him in a while, but every once in a while get a little message here and there. So uh, yeah, tag team goal was fun though. MPX, I miss MPX. Haven't been there in a minute. Stephen Kirby and Richard were some of my favorite people to work with because they were just very creative minds, and we thought a lot alike. Always had like very similar ideas, but we just had little differences where we could change it. MPX was a cool time in my life as well. Uh, saved me probably in one of my darkest times of wrestling. But yeah, um, MPX. Yep.
Um, Another tag team that you was a part of was with kind of shortly, briefly with Trevor Murdoch, or you at least tagged with Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah.
Somebody I'm very fascinated with. How did partnering with Trevor even come about, and what was like the experience maybe you was able to gain from working with somebody like Trevor?
Honestly, it was one of my most realization type moments because it was like, holy shit. Sorry about the cuss words. But it was like, oh man, I can do this with somebody that's been at that level. And after the match is over, they give you like amazing um critiques on the backside, like not only just what you could have done, but why they liked something that you did, not just the fact that oh yeah you did this good or you did why you did it this well or why this was perfect for them. But he was very gracious too. It was funny. We did the whole match and everything. He was like, "Man, you literally did everything. I just came in and cleaned it up." He was like, "I just was the cleanup hitter." He was like, "You're great." He was like, "You bump well, you sell well." We had good chemistry together. Um, but I really don't remember how it came to be either. I just think it was one of those things where I know I was having because it was with Aero Club and it was in Wichita Falls or something like that. It was Kansas, Missouri area, somewhere in that area. Um, but it was at a Coliseum. I know that because we called it the Coliseum. It had a big little Coliseum over it. But I had a rival, like a good story going on with one of the members of Aero Club, Kyle Hawk.
Okay.
And his brother kept jumping me, which was Coyote Joe. And Coyote Joe is one of the guys that helped train me. So they had been doing this story on me for back and forth for a minute, and I think it was one of those things where I needed help or backup, and Trevor came in for the backup, and we ended up beating him there at the pay per view for that show. But yeah, that I do believe that's how it came to be. Very good person to be around, and the way he thought of things too. I think the way people's minds work is very interesting to me because not everyone thinks the same, especially whenever you both are having to do this match together, and you're having to really think about what your characters would do, not just what any person would be doing, not what you know Edge did last night on TV or what Roman Reigns is doing now. Like, how creative can you be? Uh, he was very quick to be able to be creative as well. But it's also one of those things where he's been in the business for a while, so he's seen a lot of things, so it just came natural. Now that I'm a little further in my career, it's very much like that now. It's very, hey, it comes natural. Not as fast sometimes because I don't like to repeat things. I like to try new things here and there, but yeah, he was very creative too. Very fun to be around.
In 2017, I believe you won your first singles title against Matt Sydal, Fuego del Sol, the IWR
Yeah, the
Revolutionary
IWR Revolution.
Championship. How did you feel going, gaining your championship gold, first singles gold, and, maybe having the company feel invested in you at that point?
Um, it definitely felt good to be handed somewhat kind of the ball because it's like the second biggest title. So yeah, it was definitely important for that company. Um, but to be able to do that, especially with two talents like that, Fuego del Sol, which I love the guy to death. We've I can't even tell you how many times me and Fuego have wrestled each
It's
other.
a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. So we could probably get in a wrestling ring and be like, hey, remember when? Yes, okay, do it. Hey, remember when? Yeah, do it. Hey, remember this time? Yeah, do it. Um, so to be able to wrestle a guy like that of that caliber, as well as Matt Sydal, the guy I kind of used to help adapt my shooting star press, um, it was really cool. There was a part in the match that just let me know, like, holy shit, this is really happening. We get to the ring, and so the whole time before the match even happens, I never let Matt see me without my shirt on. And he was like, okay, cool. He just thought when we got in the ring, I took my shirt off, and he had had his shirt off all night, and so did Fuego. I got in the ring, and I took my shirt off, and he walks up to me as Fuego's music's going on, and he walks up and he goes, "Holy shit, dude! You didn't tell me you were jacked." He's like, "I just thought you were." He's just like, "I just thought you were some guy off the street that was just playing cowboy," and I was like, "No, I actually go to the gym." And he was like, "Yeah, I can see that." So, what's up, baby? No, you're good, baby. You're good. Hello. Little snippet of Red Velvet, guys.
Little red velvet
Um,
sighting.
yeah, little Red Velvet siding. But yeah, no, it was funny because he just came up to me and said that because he never seen me without my shirt off the entire day, and I was a lot more ripped when I first started to instead of bulking. But um, yeah, it was a fun match. I need to go back and watch like the finish of that. I don't remember what the finish of that was, but
Is it on YouTube?
yeah, it might be on YouTube. Yeah, I don't know
I'm
if
gonna track it
IWR
down.
put that
That was
stuff
one
up.
of the ones I was looking at, and I was like, I want to see this.
Yeah, it might be on YouTube.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, no, it was a fun match. They go crazy in like the middle of it for a little bit. Like they go real crazy. And it was like their way of showing off for me, like showing me, hey, you're gonna get in here, we're gonna show you how it works up close. And it was my way of getting to get in there and kind of see a little bit, but they go crazy in the middle of it, yeah. But little glimpses right then and there, you could see that Fuego was just gonna be a star one day. So we already knew Matt was.
With Fuego on the on our tongues, I might as well just say just I don't think he gets enough props. I mean,
I agree.
he, for what he does in the ring, it's kind of crazy that he isn't somewhere on TV all the time. It's wild.
I
Just throwing
agree.
that out
Sign
there.
that man.
Put that in
Re-sign
the
that
world.
man. Sign that man to an NXT contract. TNA, pick him up.
Something.
Let's go. Something. Hey Tommy, if you're listening. Hey Tommy Dreamer, Fuego del Sol. Try him out, man. Give him a shot. Give him a shot.
Uh, in 2017, also you made kind of your Ring of Honor debut. Do you remember how that came about with yourself and Coyote?
Yeah. Hold on. Actually, I got that picture. Hold on a second.
Okay,
Oh man, that's.
it's like you were prepared.
I know, right? That's little. Can you see that?
That's badass.
Says has the ROH turnbuckles and everything on it.
That's cool. And that's original ROH, not Tony ROH.
Right. That's the. I'm just gonna stick with original ROH. Original, yes. Um, I got to be nice. My
That's the
wife is
better
also
words.
yes, yes. Yeah, no, it was a actually it came out of nowhere. Um, it was a weekend or 2 weekends before we did the TNA Impact one um, for Santana and Ortiz. So it kind of came out of nowhere, but so DDP had came to that show where I wrestled with Trevor Murdoch, and he afterwards he pulled me aside, and the promoter knew DDP was excuse me, knew DDP was one of my favorites that I watched when I was growing up. And so he pulled me to the back and he asked me for pen and paper, and I gave him pen and paper, and he asked me for some information. I gave it to him, and he sent out an email and he gave me DDP yoga, free and clear, had me start using it. And he said, "All right, now get out his notebook. I want you to take down some critiques." He gave me a good list of like critiques and things he wanted me to work on. Um, things like that. And then he pulled me aside and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna call my buddy Cody Rhodes down at ROH." And they were in Dallas, and I happen to be from Dallas, and they're gonna be down there in a couple weeks. So he was gonna give me a look. So he said, "Show up, tell Cody I'm the one that sent you, and see what we can get you done." He's like, "No, no promises, but at least we'll try and get your foot in the door." Um, so I went down, did the whole thing, the kit and caboodle, shebang, and all the stuff, hung out, and it was just one of those things. I got to talk to Cody, just nothing was available that night, but they were going to be in Oklahoma City the next night, and he asked if I could make that trip. And so from Dallas to Oklahoma City, it really wasn't that bad, maybe 5.5, 6 hours. So I made the trip, and then I got to. It was myself and my buddy Kaio. They got to wrestle in a tag team against the Dogs, which was Um,
It's Rhett.
Rhett and Titus.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, Rhett and Titus. I still see those guys every once in a while on my social medias, liking stuff here and there. I miss those guys. They were fun to be around. But yeah, it just kind of came out of nowhere. It was real fun. They made me get out of my shell a little bit real early too, because they made me do some like character stuff that I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that, but it was funny. That match is online too on YouTube. You can go watch that one too. But there's some stuff in there that I stuck like a gun up. Um, which one was it? Titus. I made him take a bump or something, and I wound it up like a windmill, and I hit him in the butt with like my hand, like it was a gun, and he like stood up and went to his partner and stuff. It was funny, and I see why they made me do it now today. But in the moment, I was like, I don't want to do this. But it was a good crowd. It was fun, and I had a great time. But it also showed me, I think, at that moment that um, how I wasn't ready. It really did. I think it showed me at that moment that these guys were at a different caliber, and that if I could stick around them, that I could get to that level. But I think it was also one of those things where I knew, okay, hey, like this was so I could kind of see what it takes, and so that I could get a taster maybe, because it wasn't a hey, you're gonna get signed or possibly get signed. It was a hey, let's go show you what this is really like, so you can see if you really want it. And I had a blast, and then from that moment, it was just full speed ahead again. So.
I something I'm always interested in is, obviously as fans, we all have favorites. Who would you say like your favorites were growing up?
Um, so obviously, I I sell a lot like a Shawn Michaels, Dolph Ziggler. Um, give me just a second. Sorry.
Yeah, all right.
So for me, like Shawn Michaels, Dolph Ziggler, those guys, I kind of like took their selling and I kind of made it my own. That's what I was really like into. I enjoyed the aspect of being the good guy, and I understood what the good guy meant really young and really early in life. Uh, my dad My dad let me know what wrestling was when we first started watching it. He had to, or so mom wasn't gonna let us know. So it was broken really fast for us, but it also let me start understanding it at a long earlier age. So understanding like how those two made the other person that they were in the ring with look phenomenal. I always loved doing that. So wrestling all the time. My brother was always younger than me. I always was not didn't have a problem with letting him beat me up and selling like I was getting beat up. I had no problem with it. I enjoyed that aspect of being able to really let someone know you're in danger. But I think for me, my all time is probably gonna be like a Rock and Shawn, the Rock and Stone Colds. Their rivalry just captivated me. It made me want to watch wrestling even more. The hatred that they had for each other and the hatred they had for their boss, it was like, oh man, I just want to watch you guys kick each other's butt and like a three ring circus over and over and over again. Please, let's go. So, um, those two, but they were also very captivating too. That you could just watch them on TV. They didn't have to do a move. The Rock raised his eyebrow, and he'd get you like, oh my god, on the edge of his seat. Freaking Stone Cold would start talking about beers and give him another beer and what. You just really like there in the TV screen with him. So they knew what their jobs were and they were very entertaining, and I enjoyed that about those two as well.
Okay. Um, that I'm going to kind of lead into this next question. I mentioned at the beginning you faced an encyclopedia of individuals. I went through and I found five that really stuck out to me and piqued my interest as a fan. I'm gonna kind of run down the list and just let me know what you thought about those matches and working with those individuals.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with Chavo Guerrero.
Shocker. I just won the belt actually in the Fuego Matt Sydal match, and my next title defense was against Chavo Guerrero. And when I found that out, I found out that from the promoter at the time that Chavo had asked for it, and he didn't want to like embarrass me in front of everybody like that, but he wanted to come to me and just really have a match with me. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, that would be awesome. I'd love to learn from Chavo. And so we get there to the ring that day, and he tells me, he goes, I need three things from you. He goes, I need you to come back. I need one of your big moves and what your finisher is. So I tell him all of them and kind of walk him through how I do all of them, so he knows my footing and stuff. And he says, okay, cool. I'll see you out there. So what? And I was in shock at what was fixing to go down. Um, I don't think I'd ever been more focused, honestly, in a match. And even in the locker room, I remember guys telling me and asking me, "Hey, man, you okay? You all right? You seem like you're focused. Like, hey, you're gonna be all right. You got this. It's Chavo. He's simple." Even my trainer was coming up to me. He's like, "I've wrestled Chavo 3 times. It's easy. His matches are so simple. You're good." And I'm just in the back, like going, "I'm fixing to wrestle Chavo." Like I'm just nervous and shocked, right? Um, Go out there and we put on a 20, I think it was 23 minutes. I think that's even on YouTube as well. If it's not, I know it's under my personal ones. I may just have to drop that and see what people think about it. But it's from like a fan footage though. But yeah, it was a 23-minute match of just pure magic that Chavo is just sitting there like this, that, this, and it's just listening and going. And it was pure magic.
Up next, I'm gonna go with the Machine, Brian Cage.
That one was fun. I had been trying to like push for a match with him for a little while, and people had said that there's a possibility. So I remember tagging him in some stuff, and finally a promoter said he was going to bring him in and let us wrestle each other. And so we get there, I pick him up from the airport, and first thing we do is we go to a gym and we work out together, and then we go to a place where you can pick up some like on the go ready meals, and he gets like 5 meals, and I get like 2 meals, and he was like, "That's all you're gonna eat for us today?" I was like, yeah, there's just 2 more meals left in the day. And he goes, oh man. So he's got 5 meals and he's fixing to crush them all. Like he eats two of them right before our match that night, and then the other three like throughout his night and into the morning. I'm just like, good God, this dude eats. Um, but honestly, that's one of my coolest friendships that I've had so far. Now, like we've wrestled each other multiple times now. We've been in multiple tag matches. We had a faction that he started that I was a part of with him, myself, Tessa Blanchard, Flip Gordon, and Casey Navarro. Called ourselves the Cage Brigade. Um, yeah, I mean that man is just fun in the ring. Freaking nature. He's strong too. His brain works in different ways. Things you wouldn't think of, like a big man in his size would think of wanting to do. You're like, oh, I was like, you can do that, and then he does it, and you're like, you should not be able to do that, dude. Like, why are you so freakishly good? But yeah, no, love that dude. Especially proud of what he's been able to do so far on AEW, and I expect things to get a lot better for him too. Bigger and better things on the horizon for that man. Watch out for Brian Cage. He is a machine. Promise.
100%. Uh, Another one of those guys that I just don't think gets enough credit for what he is able to do inside and outside of that ring. Just phenomenal.
I
Um,
agree.
Up next is somebody like podcast wise, I kind of hold near and dear to the heart because I've talked to all of his trainees just about AR Fox.
Oh man. Um, so I'm just gonna say this. That was the match that tested me the most ever in my entire career, even till this day.
Okay.
Um, I knew when the flyer dropped what that match was gonna be because the promoter at VIP was very picky about who he let on his shows for a reason. Because in Dallas area, that is one of the prominent shows. That's one of the ones that you want to get on. That's where the most names and talent are gonna be. And I remember I first started getting on his shows, and a couple of guys were really talking me up to him. And at the first, he wasn't very high on me, I don't believe. And it was one of those things where it was like, all right, well, if everyone's gonna talk you up, here's a test. And he didn't even tell me what the match was or anything. He just said, "Hey, I got a surprise for you." I didn't find out till the flyer dropped. And if it dropped maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the match, so I was like, "Oh, okay, this is gonna be fun." At that moment, I was one of the guys that everyone was like, "You got to have amazing cardio to get in there with Chandler because he just goes. There's no stopping. He's ready. He's got to go. You got to be there." And I was like, "I can slow down for people. I can do this, and I can do all that. It's not a problem. I can take care of that cardio wise in the ring." But for me, it was psychologically wise. What could I do with AR Fox? Knowing him coming out of Lucha Underground and things he had done for Evolve, and he was great in the ring. He's athletic, probably one of the most athletic guys I've still been in the ring with. Um, Other than maybe Dante Martin. Dante Martin's a freak. Um, yeah, that dude can do some crazy things. But we get there that day, and I knew what it was. It was a test, so it was a pretty much 15-minute nonstop barn burner. And at the end of the day, he shook my hand, let me know that I belonged. He was like, "That was impressive." Let me stay in the ring, and that was my first like standing ovation that the crowd gave me after like, the name left. So it was a cool, really cool feeling. But at the same time, it was just one. It was also like me realizing, okay, hey, this was a test. I just freaking aced this test, and now let's you know just keep on going. As that was the name of the game. Run through as many names as you can at that point is what I was thinking. So yeah,
I,
fun match.
I got two more. The
Let's get
next
it.
one actually happened on MLW, MLW Fusion.
Low
Took a low key.
key. um,
Oh,
so I found out I got the spot on MLW maybe about 2 weeks before the flyer dropped. And there was discussion about who it was going to be, but I never knew the names. Um, I get there. No, I'm sorry. It was 2 nights before. 2 nights because I just came back from AAA. Um, 2 nights before um, MLW show, they let me know, hey, this is who you're wrestling. It was low key, and then they dropped the flyer. And overnight, the influx of people. By the time I woke up that morning, the influx of people that had shared it saying Loki's gonna kill you. Holy crap, he hits hard. He's literally gonna beat you like within an inch of your life. Like people were literally telling me this guy is really snug in this business. I had seen low key matches and I knew he was tough. I knew he was a little bit stiff, but I like it when people are a little stiff with me because it makes me feel like I'm in a fight, which I'm in. I should be every single time I'm in that wrestling ring. Um, so we get there and he meets me, comes up to me, gives me a big hug, uh, introduces himself to me, very nice. Says he's gonna get with me here in a little bit because he had things he had to do because he was helping with like backstage stuff as well. So I was like, yeah, no problem, no worries. He was like, yeah, we're like match 9 or something on tonight. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So we're sitting in the back and we go over some of our stuff and we go out and have the match. And there's a picture that Beezy, TNA's photographer, took whenever I was at MLW from underneath the turnbuckle. Um, and he thought I was doing a frog splash. So he said I got set up for a frog splash. And as soon as you jump, I clicked. But you started to do the rotation for the shooting star, and he got me perfectly upside down. Um, and so we set up that spot, and I move. I do the shooter, and he moves, and I land, and I eat it. Turns around, and he does his finisher, and we go home. He goes to like kind of tell me to get out of the ring, but at the same time, like grabs me and pulls me back and shakes my hand. We get to the back. George St. Laurent kind of looking over at me from the desk was like, "Yes, that was awesome. We'll talk soon." Loki comes back, big excitement, high fives, hugs, like that was awesome, bro. Like got offered a contract, didn't end up taking it, of course. Thank you, MLW. I appreciate the offer and the try, but just wasn't for me at the time. But had a lot of fun uh, that day at MLW too, with people in the back, things like that. But the match with Low Key it was fun. It was really it was not a super long match. I think it's like 6 minutes, 7 minute match. But it was a really fun match for what it was.
okay. Last but not least, I'm going to go with former X Division champion and X Division champion at this time, Trey Miguel.
I've been fortunate enough to work Trey on a couple occasions now.
Okay.
Also in tag matches. Myself, Flip Gordon, and Tessa tagged against him and his tag partner and Myron Reed. And that was pretty fun. That was
Was it
down.
as the Rascals?
Yeah, it was That's the
Okay.
Rascals. Yeah.
They're phenomenal.
Um, yeah, it was crazy. It was fun. We had like it was funny. We had like the main event of the night, so we could do whatever we wanted. and we were all just like throughout the night just watching the matches, and we get like maybe two matches before ours, and we all get around each other. All right, so what you want to do? Like we just start just spitting ideas, and okay, see you. And we walk out, and we just have a great old time, great match. It was one of the more like less stressful nights that I've actually had in wrestling. But one of the more memorable too. We did a lot of cool things. Had a lot of cool stories intertwined within the one. But yeah, I enjoy wrestling Trey. Trey is, I think he gets a lot of credit, but I think he deserves more. Very, very great in the ring. Genius when it comes to um, just setting things up. Also, like his creativity in the ring of like not just the stories, but maneuvers that he can come up with. He does the springboard off the ground or off the bottom rope where he sits on it, comes back into like the cutter or whatever. And we've done that a couple of times in our matches. It was really unique and fun ways that we did that. But Trey was another one that was like a test the very first time at VIP there in Dallas. And I wrestled him a couple other times in different places, a couple of different multi-mans. But Trey was fun. Yeah, Trey's a good time.
You brought up AAA. I believe that happened in
Yep.
2019. What was your
Yeah, right
experience like?
before the pandemic.
What was your experience like going down there and working in Mexico?
So the match itself was pretty much expected. You know, it was a simple lucha match. We was in a It was 9 men, but it was a three-way, three. It was a
Three
three
on
on
three
three.
on three.
Yeah, yeah, God, it's just so. But yeah, there was 9 of us out there, so we did a lot of fun stuff, a lot of cool, exciting stuff. They basically wanted to see my coolest tricks and things. Um, and after Conan watched me, that's then I got the thing at MLW, and then after MLW, he told Brian, he's like, I thought they signed him, or else I would have kept bringing him back down to AAA. But he was like, oh no, he told him no. He was like, oh, well, that was smart. But they uh, they had a really cool setup. I enjoyed the arena. It was in Juarez. Um, we just walked across from El Paso. Well, actually, we rode a bus over there, which was crazy. We rode the bus over there, and we're going down in through to the arena. And we pull up to the arena, and there's fans on both all sides, and there's kind of like they're like, "Get ready, the bus might start rocking." And you can just feel the fans like hitting the bus on both sides, and the bus is kind of rocking and stuff. Um, but it was crazy that you get out and the fans are there and they're just yelling photo, photo. And it was my first time experiencing it. And Cage was just like, because that's who had gotten me there. And I went with him, and he was like, just stay behind me. Just come on, let's go. I was like, all right. So I just took off. We went in, get in the building, um, and just to see the arena, it was really awesome. Especially to walk out and see it from where the arenas, or I'm sorry, where the wrestling mat's at, and look up and see like the stadium. There was 21,000 people there that night. I was just like, this is crazy. I'm wrestling in front of, and they don't miss it. Like they're there from the pre-show to the end. Like they're so into their wrestling. Like the second it starts, they're there, pre-show and all. They love it all the way to the end of it, and as soon as it's over, they're outside waiting for fans. And match was fun. Had a great time. We're leaving, and Cage was like, "They're gonna wait for the bus. It might be like an hour and a half, 2 hours. We can walk to the crossing up here if you want to walk with me." He's like, "We'll just walk up here. We'll get an Uber on the other side. We'll be at the hotel in 30 minutes." I was like, "Bet, let's go." So we start going, and we're walking, and a couple of people stop and get photos with us. A couple people are asking photos, and at some point Brian's just like, "Hey, I'm not stopping for another one. Let's go." I was like, "All right." So I just right behind him. We're booking it. We're going, and he's on a mad dash. People are asking. We're like, "Hey, we got to go. We got to go. We got to go." We get all the way there, and we're getting to where we're fixing to cross the border, and we get all the way up there, and I'm pulling out my wallet, and I get this shock face, and I'm just like, "Oh crap." We had checked into the hotel before we went across, and I left my license and everything at the hotel room, but all I had was my room key for like the hotel I was staying at. And I just go to pull us out, and I'm sitting here looking at this guy, and he's just like looking at me, and he's like, "Where'd you just come from?" I was like, "I just wrestled at Arena Juarez," and he was like, "Oh, you're a luchador." I was like, "Yeah, I'm with him." He goes, "Oh yeah, that's Brian Cage. We know who that is." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm with him." And I was like, "Look, I left my ID and stuff on the desk over there in the hotel. I've got my room key. I showed him my room key." And he was real cool about it. He was like, "Oh yeah, lucha, lucha, yeah, you're good. Let's go, let's go." He was real cool. Let me through. But I was in shock. I was like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna be stuck over here." I mean, he could have gone and just got my wallet and brought it back and just waited. But at the same time, it was like, oh, I was gonna have to sit there and wait forever. But just one of those cool little stories that came with actually wrestling at AAA. But yeah, AAA was fun. I had a good time. I'd go back.
In 2021, going into 2022, you did like a series of matches for AEW. How did those
Yeah.
come into fruition? And do you have a favorite?
Um, so it kind of happened a mixture of three different individuals that were already signed there at the time, kept putting in my name. Lance Archer, the Murder Hawk Monster, Brian Cage, of course, and Thunder Rosa. All three of them had really been putting in words for me. Um, and it just came about where I finally got an email and I jumped on it. And I just kind of never looked back. I mean, it was a fun time in my life. Yeah, I will say that. I had a lot of great memories, and I miss when we were at Daly's place, there in Jacksonville. We were there. I was there for almost every taping for a year and a half. So I was there for a while. So it just became like a second home. Like it just felt like we were doing indie stuff, but for TV networks supposed out. Um, we were having a great time. It got to the point where it was like, when are we actually going to get some opportunity? I think is what most of us wanted, especially those of us that were there and were the ones that were using a lot. We understood like we were getting taken care of. Don't get me wrong, but we wanted to like be able to show what we were capable of and not just go in there and have these 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute matches. Like let us show you that we know how to put your talent over. In other words, not just get or other ways than just getting beat by them. Like let us help build them up. Let us show their strengths. Like let's have longer matches so they can show what other things they can do. Like we wanted more. And there were several of us that felt that way, but at the end of the day, we were getting knowledge literally every single time I went from all the greats that you've seen there. Literally, and it wasn't something like they just hid away in a closet and didn't talk to you. There's meetings. Um, they had like some of the top talent. I'm sorry, they had some of the top talent being agents. So you'd get to pick their brains when they wanted you to do things. It's where I met my girlfriend, Velvet. Been together now for 3 years since. So um, a lot of good things came from AEW. My favorite match there was probably mine and Joey Janela's, my debut match. It was the elevation match, and afterwards, it was crazy. Like how many people came up to me inside Gorilla that was already signed. Like the signed talent stayed up in the stands and kind of watched the events so that they could kind of see what was going on and give critiques. And then the independent talent that they were bringing in, we stayed down around the ring, and they did the cheering and stuff like that, so we could have crowd interactions. Um, so after my match, I'd walk back behind Gorilla. I didn't get behind Gorilla first before Taz called me over, and Taz gave me a little pep talk. Told me he liked what he'd seen on stage when they were doing commentary. And then when I get backstage, there were several people that had pulled me to the side and was like, "What did Taz ask you about? That was good. Holy crap, you were great." And I thought I was honestly going to get signed. And then it just kind of went to a spot where it was just squash after squash after squash after squash after squash. So uh, I did it for a while. Like I said, about a year and a half, and I had a great time. I soaked up the knowledge. I used it for what it was. But at some point, I had to kind of go on my own way. I still get offers to go every once in a while, but I do decline them. Just looking for more at the moment. I want someone at this point that's going to see the fact that I've put in a lot of hard work and growth, and see like the value in what I can bring to someone. So, Roe does that right now, reality of wrestling, and Booker and the boys love me, and so I put a lot of my time in there right now because that's who's giving me those opportunities to say, "Hey, we trust you with the ball. Let's run with it." And I'm not saying I want the ball or anything, but at the same time, like, give us an opportunity to show you what we can do. We did a lot in the beginning. Why not give us the opportunity to, hey, man, let us have a 10, 12, 15 minute match. Let us show what we can do instead of just like a little 2 minute or a 3 minute or so. Um, always and forever be blessed and grateful for the time at AEW. Just wish some things would have been a little different at the time.
Before we get into reality of wrestling, I want to bring up Warrior Wrestling. Um, You worked a couple matches with them, one against Buddy Matthews, and then another with a multi-man match with Casey Navarro, TJP. I believe Brian Cage was in there.
Yep.
What
Alan
what was
Angels,
that
Dante
like?
Martin. Um, Warrior was fun. That was actually so that was right out of AEW. I was kind of slowing down, I do believe, with AEW, and I was getting a little more opportunity. And Brian had been working there for a while, and Casey had been working there for a while, and they had mentioned my name to the promoter, and he brought me in. And first thing I did was like right towards the end of the pandemic, um, and then they were doing like football show or football field shows where they had to have you sectioned off in 6 feet. So they were drawing big circles that were 6 feet kind of diameter to keep people away all throughout the football field. And then the ring was right in the middle of the football field. And they had like they were using the PA system and stuff out there. So we were wrestling on a football field during the pandemic, still doing the staying 6 feet apart in your on your own group, and then just having people everywhere. It was crazy. Um, Started there in a multi-man match. Promoter ended up liking it and said he wanted to bring me back again. He had to wait for a story to get finished though, but he brought me back a couple months later after that, and that's when I did the um, that's when I did the multi-man
Buddy
match with
Matthews?
Cage.
Oh,
Yeah, I did the multi-man match first, and then after he seen me able to do what I was doing in the multi-man match and things that I did, he was like, "All right, cool. I'll let you do the Buddy Matthews match." So I kind of I earned that Buddy Matthews match in a way. So it was pretty cool. Wasn't really expecting for like it to be that easy to put that match together and just really get on the same page with Buddy either. He was fresh out of NXT, and I was wondering like how he was really gonna want to do things because I know they're so specific about things there at WWE and NXT. So I wasn't sure how he was going to approach it. If he was going to approach me with the "Hey, I'm the big dog. Let's do it this way," or "Hey, do you have any ideas? I'm open to whatever." He was absolutely chill the entire time. He taught me a couple new things that I needed to know as well in order to do things a little bit better and smoother. So um, that match was actually really fun. I'm sad that it doesn't have a better quality video of it. I'm not sure what happened to the. There was a video of it that was decent, but only one I can find anymore is like a 360p, so it's very low and grainy. Um, but yeah, that match was really fun. Really, really good time. Bloody Matthews, that's just a beast.
was that your last time up here in Chicago?
Yeah, that was my last time at Warrior.
Okay.
I don't think they may have ran a couple more shows after that, maybe for like 3 or 4 more shows, but for as far as I know, they stopped running pretty soon after that show.
They rebranded.
Oh, okay.
Something I
That makes
recently found
sense.
out. I thought they disappeared too, and that's where I was like, that's where I found Casey Navarro. Um, I really started liking Alan Angels there, and
Oh,
they just
okay.
disappeared. They disappeared. But recently, through my work in the Chicago indie scene, I've found that yeah, they just rebranded. I can't remember what they named it. Just under a new
Okay.
name now. Same people, all that from what I understand, but they're rebranded. I don't know
Oh,
why.
might have to look into that.
I liked the Warrior name and the logo. All that was cool. I don't know
Yep.
why they rebranded, but
It was
only
a
they
really
know.
cool little look.
Yes.
The belt was even really cool. I mean, the belt at first to me, whenever I first seen it, I was like, oh man, that's just they went too far. And after seeing it a couple times and watching it get along, I was like, you know what, the belt's actually kind of cool.
It's cool.
So,
um no, I just they had like it, I don't know if it's the Chicago audience or what it is, but the fan base for Warrior was just really into it. Like they was really loyal. And
they
I
really
think that's
were.
what stuck out the most was just
Yeah.
the fan base. And their
They always
stories
showed
were
up.
great.
They always showed up. Yeah, the stories I was starting to really get into the stories once I had been there because I started catching on to what was going on. But I didn't get to finish many of them because it ended abruptly. So, but that's good to know. I may have to do some digging though. May have to do some digging.
If I can figure out the name of it, I'll send it to you.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely. Please
got you.
do.
I got you. Now I want to dive into some reality of wrestling. You've been doing a lot of work with them for the last couple of years. How did that get started? Like, when did you decide to roll in with reality of wrestling?
Well, um, it was kind of a slow roll, honestly. I'd had a match there with Clay Roberts. And it was a tryout match basically. It was on their show, but it was a tryout match before they got big, maybe year and a half ish or so ago. Um, and they wanted to see what I could do. And he was the TV champion at the time for this beautiful belt that I currently have now. And they wanted us to kind of have a decent match and just kind of show them what I could do. So basically went out and did that. I didn't hear anything back for a while afterwards. After that match, I didn't hear anything back for a good 6 months or so. And then Kevin reached out to me. I was like, "Hey, we've got some ideas. We finally have a spot that we want to put you in, and we're gonna try some things." So brought me in, and um, so I've been there straight for about a year now, right at a year, and it's been just the whole time chasing after this beautiful thing. Um, Reality wrestling is like a special place. The talent there is top notch. You're not going to find any better younger talent ready to move on to the next level that's TV ready, that is in shape, that has been put in situations to test them over and over and over again. You're not going to find a better place. Unless you're NXT or, TNA, the bigger companies. But ROW is, I mean, just the other day we passed ROH in subscribers on YouTube. That's freaking crazy.
That's pretty cool.
Like that's freaking crazy. We were talking about that the other day at the last show, and he was talking about that, and he was showing us numbers. I was like, that's wild to see that ROW is past one of like, in my opinion, one of the key brands in all of wrestling. Like it's one of the ones that has made it what it is today. So special place. The stories as of late have been crazy. Things have been really getting intense between myself and AJ Francis. Uh, Actually, tonight the latest episode aired of myself and Shao Kahn wrestling each other, which is a guy from Malaysia, and he was undefeated at ROW, and I ended up beating him. And afterwards, an AJ Francis appears in the ring. So you'll have to go watch that at Reality of Wrestling's YouTube channel at Reality of Wrestling. It's the latest one that popped up today. You can go actually see what AJ Francis and I did. But a flyer posted earlier today. Him and I will actually be wrestling each other at the end of this month for this beautiful bad boy. So uh, ROW versus TNA. We're gonna see who's the bigger dog. Um, and I'm gonna bring the fight. He may be a big old boy, but us Texas folk, we don't know how to quit. So he's gonna have to do a lot more than just a choke slam to beat me.
You brought up you really had to fight and earn for that title. What was that
Yep.
chase like for the TV championship, and what did it feel like to I think we've used this phrase a couple times, but be given the ball?
Um, it was actually in the moment. I wasn't expecting it to happen when it did. Um, there were some things that I thought were going to happen first before I got the opportunity. So when it happened, I was like, "Oh, this is really happening." So it's been one of those things where I've been trying to improve and do better every month myself as a wrestler there for reality wrestling. And they're slowly, I, I know a decent amount about wrestling. I don't know it all, and that's something no wrestler ever will. But reality of wrestling has taught me a lot more about wrestling, entertainment value wise, um, in those aspects. Because I can do the wrestling part, right? We can all do the wrestling part. That entertainment value is where a lot of people want to see and what you can do entertainment wise. Why should the crowd want to come see you? Not just because of cool moves you do, um, but like your interactions. And Roe was the first place to really take me under the wing and say, "Hey, listen, these things you do great. Let's work on these things," and really forced me to do them. Booker would put me in spots to test me and see if I was learning from what he had said the previous month or the previous shows. They really made me chase and earn the TV title. The story was fun. It was entertaining. Myself and Lockhart and Clay and even Eli getting mixed up with it. All three of those guys are talented and worthy of holding this belt. All of them have, except for Eli. Actually, I think Eli Knight's the only one that hasn't. But Clay and Lockhart have. So um, the grind was tough, but it's worth it. I'd do it again, 100%. And now I got to do it 10 times harder and get ready for Mr. AJ Francis.
Okay. Um, I've also used this phrase a couple times. If cage match is correct, you've recently done a match up with TNA on Explosion against Mance
Yeah,
Warner. What was it like getting that opportunity to work with TNA and to battle Mance?
TNA was fun. I've been backstage for TNA several times, and I got to meet Tommy Dreamer a couple of times, and there was just never really any openings or any options. But I kept going and I kept bugging and I kept going and I kept bugging. And he called me one day and he was like, "Hey, I've got an opportunity for you. Um, it's actually two things I need to see if you could do. If you could help cut a promo, I need you to dress up as a AA director, like to kind of guide an AA meeting." And he was like, then the next night we're probably gonna have you wrestle Mansoor in his like opening match. So he's like, you'll get a couple things maybe, but it just is what it is. Like, no, I get you, I got you, thanks. So we get it all done, and the whole weekend goes off, and get the promo done Friday, and then Saturday is the show. Um, and it's weird because it feels like a place that I could call home. It literally feels like just a genuinely cool locker room. The gentlemen there are awesome. The ladies are awesome. Even the management, down to the camera team, all the way to production guys, all the way to um, the agents and everyone who's doing the backstage work. It really is a fun place. There's a reason it's got an insurgence of life here in the last few years. It's just really fun to be around. Um, I know a lot of the boys, anyways, from the Indies. I've been in a lot of the same locker rooms as them. They've seen me around. So working there felt like normal. Felt like it was where I was supposed to be. And I've been telling a lot of people here lately, like TNA is where I'd love to be right now. If I could see anywhere signing anywhere, TNA would be the place. Um, very cool, very appreciative, and I couldn't be more blessed, as my buddy Casey Navarro would say, to have that opportunity that I did with TNA.
Okay. Before I let you go, I got just a couple more little fun questions that I like to
Let's get
throw
them.
in here. Uh, what's been your favorite match of your career so far?
Man,
I know I put you on the spot.
myself and Mike Bennett's always one that I go back to. I know there's
Okay.
a lot more that I'm very proud of. But the first one I have of myself and Mike Bennett is one that I'm very proud of. Was that Pele Pro? Right, it's probably in the middle of the time that I was doing AEW work.
Okay.
But they were fixing to sign him and Taven, and so I wrestled him at a Pele Pro show. Had a really awesome match. We thought we were main event because that's the way it was produced to be the entire time. And then the owner let us know in the pre-show meeting that we were now the first show, our first match of the show, and we had not talked about anything yet. We had not even seen each other yet. Really, we both had barely just gotten there. As he, like, literally, we were both walking in the door. They're like, "Hey, pre-show meeting." Um, so we get all this together, but we clicked too. Our minds were, it's crazy how in sync they were that day. Everything went off flawlessly in the match. Um, Smooth. I don't think there was a single thing I'd change about that match either. That definitely has to be probably one of my top favorites. If I had to give you an honorable mention, maybe I've had some really cool ones with Cross.
Okay.
Those have been
Matt
fun to
Cross.
watch. Yeah, Matt Cross.
Okay.
I've had a couple of fun ones with him at VIP. Those are pretty fun to watch.
Gotcha. Do you have a dream match scenario?
AJ Styles.
Okay,
Give me the
okay.
phenomenal one straight to the top.
I
If
think
if I
that'd
could
be
have Shawn Michaels,
phenomenal.
I would. Yeah, yeah, it would be. It'd be fun. It'd be really awesome. Especially I'll just take all of his greatest hits. Just that's all I want to do. I don't care.
Okay. I'm guessing that's with
Uh,
Sean too. Take the greatest hits.
Man, Sean would. If I could take a super kick from him, I think I would, like even if I could make it to NXT, and the skit had something to do with him super kicking me, and he agreed to it, I'd be like, cool, dream complete, done. Like Shawn Michaels super kicked me. I think more people and more kids my age in that time threw super kicks than anything else as well because it was just so fun and easy. You could
We
do it
all have.
easily. You didn't have to pick nobody up. Like
Yep.
super kick.
Um, two more questions.
Mhm.
One, I guess, is what's your favorite moment of your career so far?
She'd kill me if I didn't say this. My favorite moment was meeting my future wifey at AEW.
Okay.
Yeah, my favorite moment. Honestly, we probably already talked about it with reality of wrestling. I've got to do a lot of cool things, but to see a man, the caliber of Booker, who expects greatness, who expects perfection whenever you go out and do stuff. If he puts you in a situation, he expects you to get it done the way he needs it done. And for them to be able to, give me this ball, this title, and say, "Hey, you're the guy for it," like that's a big honor. To me, that's probably one of my favorite moments. Is it my biggest moment? Maybe not. But for me, it was definitely one of my favorites. It was one of the ones that was like, you earned this. Like, this is truly earned, not just given.
Okay. Last but not least, I just want to know what are your goals for the next calendar year?
Travel a lot more. This last Christmas, I was gifted my passport for Christmas, and already this year, I'm going to be out of the country 5 different times. So traveling a lot more. Trying to maybe do some stuff in Japan before the end of the year if I can get that done right. Some possibilities there, but um, basically get my name out there. Starting to really get out there and let people know and see where I'm at. Doing a lot of stuff in the Caribbeans this summer. I'll be in Cali. Actually, not next week. Wait. Yeah, next weekend I am in Cali. Not this coming one. The following. Um, then I'm out in Vegas for Mania weekend. I'm back out in Cali the weekend after Mania weekend. I go to the Bahamas. I go to Barbados. I go to Dominican Republic this weekend. Actually, we're going to
Gosh,
Dominican Republic. So for me, it's the travel part. It's the prove I can do it. It's the make the name bigger than what it is now. I plan on doing just that. Like I said, they've given me a big opportunity with this belt to do a lot of cool stuff. So I take it with me everywhere. People can see it. People can ask to take pictures with the belt whenever I get to wherever I'm going. Dominican Republic, Barbados. If any of you guys see this, Bahamas will be in the Bahamas as well. Forgot about that. So um, until I lose this belt or somebody strips it off my cold dead hands, I'm gonna be taking it with me everywhere I go.
sounds good. Chandler, I want to say thank you 100%. This was great. I'm gonna leave the door open if you ever want to come back on for an update or let us dive in more. I'd love to have you.
Absolutely. I'd love to be here. I appreciate you, man. It's been fun.
Is there anything else you want to plug or let the people know where they can find you? Anything like that?
Yeah, socials as well. Like I said, we said them at the beginning. If you're looking for Instagram or you're looking for Facebook, you can find me at the Chandler Hopkins. If you're looking on X or Twitter, whichever one you prefer calling it, you can get me at the Young Gun underscore CH. And if you like video games or you like to watch YouTube videos every once in a while, tune in and I just watch wrestling videos as well. If you like to do any of that kind of stuff, I play with my community all the time in video games on Twitch, and you can find me there at capt capt underscore pew pew underscore. So capt underscore pew pew underscore. You can get at me there. Come follow me there.
Sounds good. Thank you once again. I'm gonna just leave this at see you later then.
Absolutely. Let's do a see you later for sure. Well, after a lot of the traveling this year, we might have to revisit and see how it went.
100%. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.